So essentially, we can have conversations with, or this gives the precedence or understanding that
Right.
we can have conversations with the plants, the trees, through the idea of the one mind.
We can have conversations with our other self, which is the plants, the trees, the vegetables, our food.
There's no separation.
There is
It's
no
only one.
separation.
It's just
It's
look
just,
like that, but
everything, form and purpose, have different functions.
mhm.
The distance between you and I and these two chairs is actually an illusion. We're connected energetically. And not only are we connected, but everything in the entire universe is connected energetically and can be traced back to a one finite point. And that means that we're all part of the same energetic thing. And we're linked through quantum entanglement. We're linked through physics. We're linked through the quantum realm and quantum energies. And that everything is linked. And so if everything is linked, then we are all one.
Welcome to Call for the Truth. I am LaOta of the Sun, and this is Tarvars of the Sun. And today we're going to be talking about oneness and the many iterations. Tarvars, will you bring us into the Call for Truth?
Well, certainly, and we encourage you all to join us in the call for the truth frequency. Shall we call forth the frequency of truth to come forward? Should we call to see the truth in all that we see? Should we call to hear the truth in all that we hear? Shall we call to speak the truth, calling forth the courage to speak the truth? Should we call forth nothing less than the truth to come forward into our experience? Now that we are here in the truth, we're talking about oneness.
Yes.
And speaking of which, by the way, before we even begin, if you're following us, checking these videos out, but you haven't subscribed yet, we encourage hit that bell notification, follow us as we continue to pursue the truth within our experience. So this idea of oneness, you have a class coming up.
I do.
Called One Mind Reconnection.
One Mind Reconnection. And this is a little bit of an introductory talk about the broader ideas of oneness. We'll be going into more because this level of clarity is absolutely needed for more levels of obtainment. We are at the point at which oneness must be incorporated to move up the ladder to the next steps of obtainment and spiritual growth. It's, spiritual evolution is not a weekend class.
No, this is not microwave, hot pocket.
No.
This that farm to table. This that you grow it, you cut it, you cook it.
So the idea is that we have learned many things. Many people are interested in many things. They have pieces of things. They have rituals. They have a lot of things that work. However, to bring it together, the idea of oneness is that idea that we have to obtain the level of clarity of oneness. And so that's the class will be more about that, and there'll be techniques and ways to do it, but this discussion is really to just speak to the idea that there is only one mind in this universe. The universe is a one verse. It is one song. It is one thought. It is one thing singing a harmonic, resonant experience that brings about life. And of course, there are many other ideas within that. And many ideas bring into the many fractions the one. I often say, there's 10,000 fractions in the zero. The many fractions make up the one.
Yes.
So it's that idea of consciousness. So one mind is really one way, an easy way to get to it would be the idea of mindfulness, of recognizing that other organic life form represent the organic life form that you are, that we are an organic form of life on the planet. We're not manufactured yet. We're not computer programs at the moment. So We are organic life on the planet. We are not our avatars at the moment. And other things that are organic life forms on the planet are connected to the same one mind of creation and life that we are connected to.
So essentially, we can have conversations with, or this gives the precedence or understanding that
Right.
we can have conversations with the plants, the trees, through the idea of the one mind.
We can have conversations with our other self, which is the plants, the trees, the vegetables, our food.
There's no separation.
There is
It's
no
only one.
separation.
It just
It's
look
ju-
like that, but don't-
everything, form and purpose have different functions. So, and everything is to serve everything else. So every relationship should serve every other relationship. So the plants or the trees give us beauty and oxygen. You know, the sky gives us air, the elements give us the different aspects of them, and then we should be giving back reverence and thanks for them. The air, the wind goes through and it clears the staleness. The rain comes and it washes what needs to be washed away. The different elements all add to it. Everything serves everything else in the same, and kind of like the way my hands are moving in the same dynamic, because it was all one plan. One verse or universe is one thing. There's only one mind. So we have been raised and cultivated and indoctrinated into separation. So we think there are borders between land masses, but they're only imaginary borders.
right?
There's really no separation between places. There's no real separation between people on one landmass and another, because they're all on one idea.
One planet.
Right. So every place I place my foot is my sacred space. This is my planet.
LaOta, it sounds so simple. It sounds so ABC 1, 2, 3, but apparently humans, we just can't get right. We have allowed, like you say, we've allowed ourselves to operate and exist within an illusionary reality of separation, outside of the natural blueprint and structure of oneness. So how do we get back into this? Because you watching, you know about oneness. You've heard of that, right? But how do we practically embody oneness in our daily experience versus, the theoretical, intellectual kumbaya? I'm connected with everything. I'm one. But like, what does that look like with our coworkers, our families, our employees, the things that we're seeing outside of us? How do we practically move into oneness?
At this time, because of the cultivation, we would have to be in mindfulness to remember. And I've said this to you before, and people who are listening may have heard me say this, that everyone that we're looking at is our other self. Every animal that we see, every cat, every dog is another organic aspect coming from one mind that is also in its own iteration our other self, where we have become hardened to that aspect. We become murderers of roaches, become murderers of bees, we become murderers of anything that's not big enough to fight back. So it is this idea that baby is me, which is easier for people to see than that bird is me, or that insect is me. But the reality is that everything serves everything else, and if they were to disappear, you would have lost the part that way they serve you, and have lost an aspect of your oneness that makes you whole. So if certain animals disappear, then we lose that aspect of our experience, that gives us the depth of the expansion. If we lose the dolphins, if we lose the whales, then we lose the opportunity for that aspect of creation to further enhance us.
I want to go back a little bit. So you were saying one of the first steps is mindfulness. I think most people say, I know about mindfulness, but I think it's a little more or a little deeper than that. And I want to elaborate, and please correct me if necessary. When I hear you say mindfulness, I think of a continual process of staying within the understanding that I'm connected, where I don't just leave it in my meditation in the morning. I move throughout my day with this diligence or persistence to hold the awareness in the forefront of the mind, even when things are a little rocky.
Right.
I stretch to see myself in the thing outside of me, that I'm not separate from it.
Right.
Is that
Yes,
along the lines?
that's definitely a first step, and to teach our children that, like to teach our children to not only walk barefoot on the grass under the sun, but to pay attention to what they put their feet upon,
Mhm.
and to not randomly destroy aspects of themselves, because that is informing the oneness that you are sabotaging your other self.
So this was the second part I wanted to expound on, the idea of other life forms, because many of us have grown in environments where we've been taught and conditioned that certain life forms are disgusting and they're this and they're that, but we know that they're forms of creation, and that all these different forms. And this is a shout out to the people who every time they see an animal, they're like, "Ooh, let me go on Google and see what that spirit animal said." What's the information, right? That everything is informing us. Everything is a fractal aspect of the all, but sometimes we don't carry that understanding to the ant, the bee, the roach, the lizard. We're scared of them, and then there's this part of us that wants to kill them. Would you speak about a little bit more about the indoctrination of how those who have been dominating and controlling the planet have been operating in a behavior of kill, destroy, and suppress, and how we've adopted that same behavior?
Abuse and aggressive matches.
It's more. We can go on and on, huh?
I'll speak about it from another point of view. I have spent time in other countries, in Africa and other places, where people will be in a country restaurant, and they'll get up from the table with their plate and they'll go leave food at the gate of where the entrance is, as a token of sacrifice, and to give whatever living things are in the area where that could be. And this is in accord with this understanding of oneness, like I eat, you eat. I get water, you get water. It's this understanding of I am life, you are life. I keep me alive, I keep you alive. That's a different point of view. The idea is that is really the truth of it. This is how the Indigenous have always operated. This is how people who are not indoctrinated to the way that corporations work, where it is incumbent to keep everything living, and not to teach people how to keep things or make things unalive. There's this idea of I recognize the life. It's in Lakesh. I recognize the life in you as the life in me. I recognize the divinity in a tiger, and I recognize that same divinity in me. I recognize the divinity in a salmon jumping out of the water, and I recognize that same divinity in me and in the bear. And I see how this all works together and everything serves each other. The kind of thought form that removes you from the equation of being the human. So to be human means that you are the one who understands, and then you understand what you're looking at. So you see the life in another. You see the divinity in self. You are observer, but you are also creator. So you are the aspect of creation that has been made, and you are also the observer of that in others. So you are the spark of the one mind, the first creative motion, or the spark of the creator, and you also can observe it as you look outside of yourself through your senses into the broad spectrum of whatever is in your purview. And you can say, oh, that plant over there is divine as well. I should make sure that I greet it in Lakesh and Veritas, release its suffering. And may it heal me and release my suffering. May you be the medicine. You know, you are human. The human is the observer and the creator. Those are the ones who were originally occupying this planet. Everyone who is here came from somewhere else. This planet was seeded with a variety of different life forms for the enrichment of us all.
Yeah.
Not so we could kill off the things we didn't understand.
Right. The things that we fear. Yeah. Shout out to the podcast before.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest takeaways that I'm gaining from this is that moving into oneness makes us more human.
Yes.
The lack thereof, we begin to move a number of degrees away from what it means to be a human.
Absolutely.
And you use this term, be the medicine, be the healer. You know, through the oneness, we can be that. And it's a very powerful concept.
And not only that, but even the condition we find ourselves in is to our greatest advantage. Everything serves the truth. Everything serves the divine plan. Everything serves the one mind. Even in our lesser understandings that we exist in now, even in the fact that we may be traumatized or have been abused or damaged in some way, the reality is it is the wounded healer who heals. You know, everything is an opportunity for us to be greater. Everything is an opportunity for us to take our wisdom that we learn through our pain and suffering and create it into something that is beautiful to give to another.
Yes.
You know, in Southeast Asia, there are many trees that we sell the wood for these trees, these old trees, and they become diseased in the jungles. And when they live beyond their disease and heal themselves, they're considered sacred. That's true of us as well. So as we heal ourselves from the cultivation of our situation, our ancestors, our past lives, our larger experience, we become the sacred thing.
Mm-hmm.
We become the part of the mind of one, that everything serves the one mind. Everything serves us if we can see that it does. And eventually, we do see that. Now, how long that takes?
Yeah, sometimes we continue past the expiration date of the experience or the lesson, but none the least, I can definitely see not only the beauty, but the practicality of the oneness, what we go through, seeing what we've gone through and whatever trauma, and how there's a golden nugget in it. There's something to gain to make us greater. I was just in a conversation with someone the other day, and they were sharing we were speaking on this idea of how what they went through, it's paving the way to share with the world, you know, that, yo, you can get through this. I've been there, I've done that. And, you know, the wounded healer, as you say.
Yeah, it's truly the way to recognize that whatever has happened to you, these are the ingredients in the pot that you can now cook into the medicine that will heal yourself and your family and the broader experience.
I want to shift gears to one other idea. One of the things we've discussed is that on the planet, there's a lot of hijacking going on, where the anti-life forces on our planet will take something that is for good, ride that pony, and turn it into something which is essentially a distortion, specifically the concept of oneness. We see it with things like the New World Order, One World Government, World Economic Forum, and these concepts where oneness is utilized and weaponized, and it is something that has created fear and pushed people away from the concept of oneness. Would you speak a little bit about this?
This is really so much the case. The idea of taking very positive concepts that people are naturally leaning towards, that people naturally gravitate to, and then attaching those to ideas that are detrimental and harmful to people. And years later, the people find out that, oh, maybe it wasn't aid, or maybe it wasn't this, maybe it wasn't health and medicine, maybe it wasn't the thing that they thought it was. And then it sours people to words like oneness because of their, they have rightfully understood that what was under that banner was not correct. But you are encouraged to look deeper into original wording. What did the original word mean? And because someone stole it, does that then, and used it inappropriately, does that then mean that the language, which is connected directly to our DNA? So there should be new language in the new world that we're moving into. But in the moment, we have to be discerning. We have to be discerning. Oneness has the frequency of elevation and lightness. And even though it has been disturbed, we should not automatically out of hand. However, this idea of creating confusion amongst the language is part of the anti-life plan, is to create doubt and distortion in all of the things that we've learned. But there will be new language. There must be new language, because we will be a new man to survive this and move into the new world where we will be exalted. We will need new language. But until that happens, you are encouraged to identify, like actually look up words and identify what definition are you going by. That's what we do. We actually look up the many words which have often contradictory definitions. Yeah. And we choose, this is what I'm saying, with the clarity, so that we can communicate the clarity to the material of the mind, of the one mind. In the same way you want to do manifestation, you're imprinting your image onto the material so that the material can then bring you back the projection that you want in your manifestation. It's the same exact thing. Gain clarity, be detailed, do the research, go deeper. Don't be shallow. This is not the time.
That's right. Get that snorkeling gear.
Yes, absolutely. So will you pull a card for us?
Most certainly. Most certainly. And I'm going to ask the cards to show us the truth that we must see here regarding oneness.
Regarding oneness, the truth of oneness. And the card is...
Sometimes it takes a moment. The theme, fear. This is corresponding with the root chakra. The biggest trick played on humanity is fear. So, we were at the tail end of speaking about how they're using oneness and weaponizing it, making us afraid to unite. And that's what the gold is.
Yes.
That's what the gold is. And I think everything in our reality, in nature, in the biology says it. Our lungs don't say, you know what, I don't think I want to communicate with the esophagus no more. I don't think I want to work with the liver.
Right. The molecular certainty that the instruction that our chemistry, our bodies, our technology has is what we should go for. We should go for that level of soul certainty, that level of clarity where I'm going to be a liver always. I'm not going to turn into lips tomorrow. That level of informing the material should have, I love that you said that, so thank you. We thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion about oneness. We have upcoming classes in One Mind. I'm excited to meet you all and see you there. Thank you. In Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, gratitude, integrity, discipline, and action.